Greetings, salutations, respect, and love. I am Scott, and you're in the Prog Corner, where today I'm going to be investigating the top-selling albums of all time. Yeah, I'm going to do the top 25 rock albums. I am taking out a few. The ones that aren't rock include Garth Brooks' Rope in the Wind. Comes in at number 33, not going to include that. Britney Spears, Baby One More Time. Backstreet Boys' first album. Adele 21. Bob Marley Legend. Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. The Bodyguard soundtrack. Garth Brooks' No Fences. Shania Twain, Come On Over. And Garth Brooks' Double Live. Those would have been in the top, 25, 50 or whatever, but they're not rock albums, so we're not including them. We're doing the top 25, and the ones that just barely missed this list include the Bruce Springsteen live album, that big old box set, Pearl Jam's 10. Really surprised at this one. Prince, Purple Rain, not on the list. Aerosmith's Greatest Hits, Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet, Def Leppard, Hysteria, Led Zeppelin 2, Phil Collins, No Jacket Required, The Beatles' Abbey Road, Creed, Human Clay, The Eagles' Greatest Hits Volume 2, James Taylor's Greatest Hits, and Led Zeppelin Houses of the Holy. Those are the ones that just barely didn't make the list, but here we go at number 25, the best-selling albums of all time. It's Simon and Garfunkel's Greatest Hits from 1972. Yeah, they'd broken up by that point, and this was a really nice collection of all their hits. This thing sold 14 million copies and hit number 5 in the U.S. What's funny is a lot of these albums, as I'm going through them, a lot of them didn't even hit number 1, but they're the top-selling albums of all time. That just shows you how good records have legs. At number 24, selling an incredible 14 million copies, It's Bad Out of Hell from Meatloaf from 1977. And just a quick note here, I am using the RIAA statistics, so these are American sales, not worldwide sales. So you're going to see a few discrepancies because of that. Meatloaf, Bad Out of Hell, produced by Todd Rundgren. You guys know it. What's weird is the best chart position this album ever had was number 14. That's just weird to me. At number 23, it's Carole King's Tapestry from 1971. Obviously, this hit number 1 in the U.S., sold 14 million copies, and It's Too Late hit number 1, the single. So just a great album. One of the classic albums of all time. You know it. You love it. At number 22, it's the Beatles' Red album. Yeah, both the red and the blue are on here. The Red album sold 15 million copies and hit number 3 in the U.S. in 1973. Yeah, they just reissued the red and the blue. I almost bought them over the weekend, but like $65 each. Come on, man. At number 21, it's Steve Miller's Greatest Hits, 1974 to 1978. This came out in 1978, and even though Steve Miller had like 10 albums out, there's only songs from 3 albums on this. You got The Joker, and then everything else is from Book of Dreams or Fly Like an Eagle. And why not? Those 2 albums were just chock full of hits. This album has gone on so far to sell 15 million copies, and it only hit number 18 in the U.S., which is just odd to me. At number 20, another huge surprise. How is this possible? I had to double check the numbers here. It's Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon coming in at number 20. Sold 15 million copies in the U.S., hit number 1, their first number 1 album. They've had a total of 4 number 1 albums. Obviously, this record sold a lot more worldwide, but here we go. Why is it only at number 20? That's bizarre to me. At number 19, it's Journey's Greatest Hits from 1988. Great hits collection. It sold 15 million copies, and its highest chart position was number 10, so that's really weird. This album has spent more time on the Billboard charts than any other compilation album in history, with the exception of Bob Marley Legend, so that's cool. At number 18, it's Metallica's 5th album, the self-titled from 1991. This has sold 16 million copies in the U.S., hit number 1 on the Billboard charts. This was the first of 6 number 1 albums that they'd have in a row. That streak was broken this year when 72 Seasons only hit number 2. At number 17, it's Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti from 1975. 16 million copies of this double album, Behemoth, were sold in the U.S. It hit number 1, and why not? It's Led Zeppelin in all their glory. Oh yeah, we love Zeppelin. At number 16, it's Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill from 1992, sold 16 million copies, hit number 1 in the U.S. Taylor Hawkins was touring with her on this album, which is cool. I don't think he played on the album, though, but whatever. Alanis Morissette, I like her first 2 albums. At number 15, it's the Blue Album from the Beatles from 1973. This is sold, how many copies is this sold? Like 17 million or something like that. It hit number 2 in the U.S., whereas the Red Album hit number 3, so that's kind of weird. Neither one hit number 1. What a great collection the Red and the Blue records were. At number 14, you talk about a great collection of songs. How about Elton John's Greatest Hits from 1974? Yeah, this thing hit number 1 on the Billboard charts. It sold 17 million copies, and why not, man? It's got all of Elton's great early hits on there. At number 13, it's Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA from 1984, sold 17 million copies. Yeah, this thing hit number 1. And, this was a weird time for Springsteen because he had dropped The River, which was a real nice double album. And then he put out that Nebraska thing. So when Born in the USA came out, man, the people were ready, and that thing just flew off the shelves. This is his 7th album, hit number 1 in the U.S. You know it, you love it. At number 12, it's Boston's debut, 1976. This sucker sold 17 million copies. It did not hit number 1. Its highest chart position was 3. The follow-up, 1978's Don't Look Back, hit number 1. But, this one ended up selling way more copies, obviously because it's way better. At number 11, Guns N' Roses with Appetite for Destruction from 1987. Yeah, this puppy sold 18 million copies. Great debut album for the boys, hit number 1. Fantastic stuff. 1987, Guns N' Roses. And now we're in the top 10 most best-selling albums of all time. And here's another shocker. At number 10, selling 20 million copies. It's Fleetwood Mac's Rumors. I would have thought this was higher than that. 1977, obviously. This was their second number 1 album in a row. Self-titled 1975. Also hit number 1. Tusk did not hit number 1. I think it hit like number 2 or 3. But then Mirage hit number 1 in 1982. This record beat Hotel California for Album of the Year in the Grammys. That's amazing that you got 2 classic albums for the ages in the same year. At number 9. Is Hootie and the Blowfish with Cracked Rear View. Yeah, I bought this when it first came out. I think everybody bought it. Somehow, it sold 21 million copies. Not bad for a debut album in 1994. Hit number 1 in the U.S., and the singles all did good. Hold My Hand hit number 10. Let Her Cry at number 9. Only Want to Be With You hit number 6. And I can't stand Hootie and the Blowfish. I just can't. Number 8. It's Pink Floyd's The Wall. Yeah, I'm so shocked that this one has sold more in the U.S. Then Dark Side, it just doesn't make sense. 23 million copies of The Wall sold in the U.S. This was another number 1 album for them. Dark Side hit number 1. Wish You Were Here hit number 1. Animals hit like number 2. The Wall hit number 1. And then The Division Bell hit number 1. So those are all their number 1s. 1979, The Wall, 23 million copies. At number 7, it's Billy Joel's Greatest Hits Volumes 1 and 2. And, he threw a couple new songs on here. Second Nature or whatever. Just bad songs. Don't do it. If you're doing a Greatest Hits album, you don't need to put a new song on there to try to make it sell. It's a bad idea. 1985, this thing sold 23 million copies, and its highest chart position was number 6. Again, very strange to me. At number 6, for the best-selling albums of all time, It's the Beatles' White Album from 1968, selling 24 million copies. Obviously hit number one in the US. Just such an amazing double album. It's interesting that there's some double albums on this list. Actually, I'm a little bit surprised. At number 5, it's Led Zeppelin 4 or Zoso or, Runes or whatever you want to call it. Their fourth album from 1971. This sold 24 million copies. And again, this did not hit number one. It hit number 2 in the US. Just really bizarre to me, but come on, man. Stairway to Heaven, Black Dog, rock and roll. When the Levee Breaks, just awesome. At number 4, it's AC/DC's Back in Black from 1980, their first album with Brian Johnson. They had lost Bon Scott. He was on their first 6 albums. Highway to Hell did really, really good. So there was a big buzz about AC/DC, and this album just blew the doors off. Sold 25 million copies in the US, hit number 4. Didn't hit number 1 in the US, hit number 1 in the UK, but not in the US. At number 3, it's Hotel California, man. This sucker sold 26 million copies. It is a number 1 album, obviously. New Kid in Town hit number 1. The title track hit number 1. They lost the Best Album Grammy to Rumors on this, but 1975 was obviously a pretty good year. 75, it didn't come out in 75. You know I got that wrong. At number 2, it's Michael Jackson's Thriller. Yeah, worldwide, obviously, this is going to be the number 1 best-selling album in the world, but it's number 2 in the US, which is weird. Came out in 1982, late in the year in 82, because Asia was actually the best-selling album of 82. But yeah, as 1983 came on, Thriller just dominated the world with hit after hit after hit. There were 7 singles that all did great. You know all these songs. 34 million copies sold in the US. This sucker was at number 1 for 37 weeks. Yeah, it's Michael Jackson. And finally, the best-selling album of all time. It's the Eagles, their greatest hits from 1976. 38 million copies sold. This was the very first platinum record ever issued by the RIAA. Back in 1976, it hit number 1 in the US, hit number 2 in the UK, 38 million copies sold. There you go. Those are the top-selling albums of all time, and I just want to give a brief shout-out of appreciation to the great Jeff Shilka, who just keeps sending me stuff, man. He sent me like a whole slew of stickers the other day, man. Just so cool. Maybe. Tales from Topographic Ocean stickers, Elias of Sun Hillo stickers. It just goes on and on, man. Just look at all this stuff that Jeff Shilka gave me. Just so cool. Thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate you. Anyway, yeah, we got Thanksgiving going on this week, so I don't know what all I'll be doing. We'll just have to play it by ear. Maybe I'll do something tomorrow. Maybe not. Stay tuned. Anyway, guys, I love you. Peace in the Middle East. Free Tibet. And God save the king. Save King Chucky. Save King Charles III. He needs your saving right now. That son of a gun certainly does. I'll see you punks soon.